Welcome to A Slice of SEL, a podcast for educators about social emotional learning.
Welcome to A Slice of SEL. We're the SEL team at the St. Croix River Education District. I'm Nick.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Kevin.
So what we're talking about this week, team, is a blog post by a secondary ELA teacher named Anna Perez. We were inspired by this. It's called Incorporating Student Interests and Choice in the Secondary Classroom. So Anna is a high school teacher, and her focus with this blog post was around student engagement. And we just thought it was a great article. We wanted to talk through the short list of 3 strategies that she uses when she's trying to engage and increase motivation with her students.
But before that, let's talk about what's filling our buckets this week.
I'll jump in first. It's peppermint coffee creamer season. It doesn't last forever, so I hope everyone enjoys it as much as I am.
That's awesome, Nick. I'm going to shift it back to the schools that we've been working with. I've been with a lot of teams lately, and I'm just super impressed with the amount of data and the tools that they're using to measure the effectiveness of their programming and using that to really drive the decisions they're making. It's really filling my bucket this entire week.
That's awesome, Kevin.
Yeah. Today, what's filling my bucket is the quality time we got to spend as an SEL team this morning. We have a new adult learning platform that we are creating our new content on, and it was a great example of productive struggle, to say the least.
Yes, it was.
But I'm just so grateful for the psychological safety we have as a team that really leads to some solid collaboration.
Yeah, and by that we mean like continuously making mistakes and being okay with it until we figure it out. Yeah.
It's a good team effort.
Yeah. So with our main topic, so Anna shared that sometimes getting her students to do even the most minute assignments is like pulling teeth. But even when the unit is tough, she tries to find a way to incorporate either a choice, student interest, or an element of fun at some point. And she said this kind of work doesn't make the bad days disappear, but it adds great memories to her year. And sometimes her high schoolers tease her for being cringe. Sometimes she gets an "yo, that was pretty cool" out of them. But it all adds up to help her classroom feel more like a community. So like I said in our intro, we're going to just talk through 3 main tips that Anna shared. And I'll start. So her first was find out what's trending. So Anna recommended this because she takes any pop culture nuggets that she can pick up about Gen Z. I don't know if we've even gone into Gen Alpha at this point. I think we're getting there. And then she weaves those pop culture nuggets into her lessons and conversations with students. And from my own personal experience, I think weaving that into conversations with kids is probably where that teasing about being cringe comes from, because I've been teased about being cringe before. Like, guys, I've never shared this anecdote on the podcast, I don't think, but I just found this so funny. So when Billie Eilish was first blowing up and her first album came out, I was talking to a high school student at the school I was working at, and I called her Billie Eilish because I was like, oh, it must be like an Irish thing. And I was like trying to sound so confident and cool with it, just talking about what was like hip at the time. And then she looked at me so confused and was like, are you talking about Billie Eilish, Mr. Vanos? And I had egg on my face there, but I was trying, and just like Anna's saying, she tries. So like even when she gets like teased by her students for being cringe and stuff, it's just like they appreciate that she's trying. So a couple of tips for how Anna recommends that you go about this. Like, she recommended following on social media platforms like teachers that, in her words, that you vibe with. So like you're gonna see teachers posting assignments or like icebreakers or bell ringers that they've made around pop culture stuff, and that's a great source of ideas, because not only is it about the trending topic, it's like, how did that person apply it? So like, did they come up with an attendance question or like a slide they made on Canva around that trending topic? So like it's nice because it's like a complete product. So that's why like the first thing she recommended was following teachers who tend to post that kind of work that they do. The second thing she recommended is just go straight to the source. and like some of the most popular social media platforms that the youth are currently using, like TikTok is one. But if you have any concerns about using TikTok, I know some folks do, like Kevin does. But people who put those short video clips on TikTok also tend to put them on Instagram, or YouTube even has its own thing called YouTube Shorts that they're really trying to get people to use. But like people tend to put the same stuff on each of those. So for example, like I happen to know right now that the new show about Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family, like there's a dance scene in that show on Netflix that is blowing up online and trending. So if you go to the trending section of YouTube Shorts or the trending section of Instagram, TikTok, like that's a thing that is being posted a lot. So if I was making an attendance question or an icebreaker, I'd love to find an opportunity to incorporate that into it. And that's the kind of thing that Anna's saying she does as much as she possibly can. And then a third idea she gave is like listening to popular radio stations, like on her drive to and from school. And you may be thinking like, well, like high schoolers aren't listening to the radio. And I think the statistics would bear that out. But what the radio does do is those DJs do some filtering for you because they're paying attention to all the gossip and spilling the tea is the jargon, is the slang for it now. Like, all the gossip and spilling the tea about celebrities and stuff, and they'll talk about that so you can, be in the know without doing a lot of extra searching for that. So Anna recommended that. Again, it's just a great source of content, and she just weaves it into, if there's anything in her lesson content where she can weave that trending topic stuff into, or just when she's having casual conversations with students. She said, though, even if you don't do any of those things she recommended, like even if you don't use social media at all, for example, don't like listening to the radio, she said, like, she'll give students a survey at the beginning of the term and just ask them about their interests. And that does a lot as well. And then she also said, like, the best advice she would give is just, like, talk to the kids as much as you can and listen to what they share. And I think that's going to kind of lead into what Kevin's going to talk about. But just before I pass the mic to Kevin, we are going to link into the show notes a Google form survey template that we have that's like a good starting point. And Anna on her personal blog shared, she charges a couple of bucks for it on Teachers Pay Teachers, I think, but it looks very, very similar to the one that we have. It's just like a Google form to use to survey your kids about their interests. So we're going to share that for free.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And for the record, I have nothing against TikTok. I practice my social media. I practice my social media in moderation, so I have my avenues of my, where I connect with the world, but I drew the line at TikTok. And not to say like, we're at a point in education too where it's just great to see teachers embrace that and bring that into the classroom and connect with students at that level. I mean, we can always fight trends, but really like embracing them is sometimes a really great tool to use, for some teachers and people to be able to bring that in and relate to their students. So absolutely, nothing against TikTok.
Yeah, on that note, like there's a reason why for our Be Good People curriculum, like every single middle and high school lesson essentially begins with a short video clip, vertical video. Yeah. Because, overwhelmingly the feedback around that has been like, this is so great for getting the kids talking. It's a great way to start the lesson, really gets them engaged and the conversation going. So yeah, they respond to it.
Yeah. And I love the idea of the survey too. So if I was leading the classroom, not having a TikTok to relate with students with, I could survey them. So, and that's her second tip. Her second tip is about getting to know your students. A good example would be that Anna shared that one day she saw one of her students laughing at her laptop, and so Anna moseyed over and asked what she was watching. It turned out to be YouTube. So she asked her, do you watch a lot of YouTube? And eventually the student goes on and explains that she loves watching this Asian boy band called BTS. And Anna asked the student to show her one of the videos. Well, while watching, Anna asked her questions about the members, what she likes about the group, etc., and found out that she's excited to go to their concert in the near future and that the student memorizes even the Korean lyrics that the band was singing in. So in a short 5 minutes, Anna learned something new about her student validated her interest, and decided to work a little BTS into the lesson for an icebreaker, specifically for her, that student. And that's all it takes. Anna recommended that once you have a good grasp on what your students are into, try everything and anything to include some of those interests, either in attendance questions, assignments, activities, extra credit opportunities, and any other place that you could, find to fit into your daily routine. But that consistent engagement in her interests and opinions will naturally build that classroom community, even if they are still calling you what, Nick, you described as cringy.
Well, yeah, that reminds me, one of the most popular resources on our SEL website is these mood meter slides that can be used to check in at the beginning of class, and they have GIFs on them for different movies and different sports. And like I said, just with our web data, we know that that's really popular. But one of the things I really love is that people who use those will work with their students to make their own. And a couple of them have shared them with me. So a school counselor in one of the middle schools in our districts worked with one of her skill groups, and they made one for, I don't even remember his name. It was a YouTuber I'd never heard of. And then, of course, I typed in his name, and he had 50 million followers. And it's oh my gosh, there's this huge part of pop culture that I'm completely out of touch with at this point. But that's the point. This is exactly what Anna is talking about. This school counselor went out of her way to say, hey, can we make one of these that, what would you guys be interested in, when we do our emotion check-in, the mood meter? And they said this YouTuber. They found a bunch of GIFs because, again, this person who I'd never heard of is extremely popular. And now that product exists and people other teachers can use it. So, I mean, it's just a great example. Those kids are way more into that routine and ritual of doing the mood check-in because she went out of her way to incorporate things that they were interested in.
Yeah, that's a great example, Nick, of, really building that engagement, incorporating students' interests. And you know how much I love the mood meter. So.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, Anna's third piece of advice was to give students choice as often as you can. I love the anecdote that she said. When she was younger, she was working in a restaurant as a server. And the lesson that she learned being a server is when the answer is no, give them a pickle. It's the idea that there's often a workaround, compromise, or other options to provide for a customer when you can't give them exactly what they want for whatever reason. So she translated that as a teacher into when students ask her, can I do X instead of Y for an assignment? She's not super quick to just say flat out no. And I did say yes for some students. Sometimes the answer is just no, period. But it doesn't have to be. She tries the pickle trick and challenges herself to meet them halfway.
So I'm glad she, clarified what the pickle trick means because I'd never heard about that before. But
Yeah,
now I think it's kind of a cute way to remember that. It just really stuck in my brain, just the pickle trick. So this made me think, Angela and Kevin, of my former teammate Courtney Strelo, who now works in Cambridge. She shared when we were first podcasting together, we were talking about multiple modes of assessment. And we have this big list on the SEL website. And if I can remember, I'll link this into our show notes as well. But it's just kind of a long list of options when you're doing assessment activities. So debates, mock trials, role plays, essay, true false, multiple choice, fill in the blank, group tests, interviews, video creation. There's so many different options. And Courtney was reflecting on this and saying she would, I can't remember the number she gave, but me and another colleague who was a former teacher were oh my gosh, that's crazy. Because I think she said she did 8 different options as much as she could. And it's just well, that's a lot. But she's yeah, no, maybe more reasonable is 2, maybe 3. But she would, she and her colleagues would try and have multiple modes of assessment and multiple options students could pick from for demonstrating their mastery. So that was just one example, I think, of what Anna's getting at that, this called to mind when I was reading about the pickle trick. All right, gang, so we're going to recap quickly. So the 3 tips that Anna shared from her experience as a high school ELA teacher, looking to max out her students' engagement. Number 1 was what's trending. So that's where we talked about using the radio, subscribing to teachers who are really in the know with pop culture, and they will, publish examples of the kinds of things that they've done to like take pop culture and put it into bell ringers or attendance questions and other activities. Following, looking at the trending pages on apps like TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels. Just getting the tea, as the kids say. Number 2 is getting to know students' interests. So like doing a structured survey, a Google survey, which again, we're going to link into the speaker notes or show notes and example, just to like outright ask kids about what they're interested in. And then just having casual conversations as much as you can and listening, like Kevin, that story Anna shared about learning about the band BTS.
Yeah.
And then number 3 was offering choices and just building that into the lesson design as much as possible and using the pickle trick as much as you can. If a student asks, can I do X instead of Y? And they can't, she tries to meet them halfway, come up with some kind of option that allows them to have more autonomy and incorporate more of their interests into the activity. Mm-hmm. And Anna ended her article with this advice. At the end of the day, our students want what we all want, to be seen, heard, and validated. We have the power to provide spaces where they experience this. And even if they don't say anything directly, I promise you, they notice.
Love that.
All right, guys, thanks for spending time with us today. Make sure you just subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, click the bell so that you're notified when new episodes are released. We'll see you when you come back for another Slice of SEL.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.